in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Very exciting to talk to the President of the United States on air, off air, keeping in touch, keeping tabs. Just an amazing man. Can you imagine being the President of the United States? You know, any room you walk into, anything you say is international news. You're the center of the world, and that's got to be one hell of a thing. You know, just one hell of a thing. Yeah, Everybody comes to a point. Every young man at some point realizes, you know what? I'm not going to be president of the United States, because in about the first or second grade, they tell us, you know, maybe you can be president of the United States. And it does seem like the ultimate achievement. And then reality sets in. Okay. And then you realize that's probably not going to happen. And it hasn't happened to me yet, but it probably will. Maybe it's already happened to you. Where the president of the United States is younger than you, you know? Up until this point, they've always been a couple of decades older. And just about everybody running for president. Let's see, who's older than me? Well, Marco Rubio, I think he and I are the same age. I'm about 12 years older, 15 years older than J.D. Vance. Kamala Harris is older than I am. Pete Buttigieg is... Well, granted, he's not going to be president of the United States. I mean, you know, some people may think it's stylish and interesting that he's gay. I have no interest in that. I don't think most people really have interest in that. Unfortunately, there are some people out there who will hold that against him. I neither hold it against him or hold it for him. I'm just like, that's not relevant. Why are you always talking about it? But it's going to happen. We're going to have a younger president than me, than you, and that's the way it goes. I first got this idea, actually, by watching, well, it was a documentary, Walter Cronkite, the day that Kennedy won the presidency. Is like, yep, it's happened. I'm older than the president. And it's like a little bit, I'm not talking midlife crisis, but it's a moment. He chuckled about it. Actually, you may remember seeing, I don't think anybody saw it live. Did anybody see it live? My mom remembers watching TV and seeing Oswald shot to death live. Anyway, so he cried when Kennedy was killed. And obviously, yeah, I totally get that. It was such a shock. He was so young. And it's like, what the hell just happened? And he reported to the world that it did happen. Fast forward to when Lyndon Johnson dies. It's not that much of a shock. He's a big smoker. He left the presidency about a year prior, and they say Vietnam basically ruined the guy. Any picture you've ever seen of Lyndon Johnson, he looks like he's 64 years old. 64 years old. And back then, being 64 meant something. People died. I still can't get over this Lindsey Graham thing. 71. Hey, a lot of people, a lot of smart people that I know and respect can't put away the idea that maybe Putin had him killed. It didn't occur to me right away, but he made major news in early 2022, right after the invasion of Ukraine. Said, somebody needs to take out Putin. I don't know how they're going to do it. Fox in the hen house. Somebody needs to do it. Take him out. He said that. It was very controversial. Some people even thought it was illegal. You know, I mean, it's apparently not the American policy. Give me a break. Is to not kill foreign leaders. I think we need to revise that if we ever... they actually did pass a law that says we can't kill foreign leaders just for the sake of killing them. Something tells me we blow that rule off from time to time. Anyway, here is Walter Cronkite. The year is 1973. And he's on the phone. He's literally holding a phone to his face. It looks like he's ordering pizza for the crew. And it's just like the most matter-of-fact, nonchalant thing in the world that Lyndon Johnson is dead. Cut 6, please. Cut 6.
I'm talking to Tom Johnston, the press secretary for Lyndon Johnson. It was reported that the 36th President of the United States died this afternoon in an ambulance plane on the way to San Antonio, where he was taken after being stricken at his ranch, the LBJ Ranch in Johnson City, Texas.
Yeah, right. Just for a guy who became famous crying on TV, look, it's different, but at the same time, it just makes me realize 71, our medical technology. I compared a bunch of people, what is 60? William Holden, I think, died in his mid 60s. You look at that guy compared to Brad Pitt, who's in his mid 60s now. Some of this is good. It's healthy. We take care of ourselves better. Some of it is not healthy. We take care of ourselves too much. The men have become like women with the face creams and the hydration of the skin and all this stuff. What else? And also, men don't grow up like they used to. You don't have war anymore for the most part. You don't get drafted. You don't really. There's a lot of things that you don't have to do anymore, which is kind of what made you a man a little bit, right? That was part of becoming a man. And now you don't actually have to do a lot of those things that basically everybody did. Everybody used to get married. Not everybody gets married. What is the percentage? 65%? A lot of people don't get married. I can tell you firsthand, getting married is stressful. Not only the wedding part, but the marriage part. However, they say it actually increases your lifespan. I know it increases my lifespan because my wife, makes sure I take the pills and stuff like that. So it's just, it's interesting. So I think there's a real chance, and people think there's a real chance that Putin may have had him killed. And are we going to find out? What is the FBI doing outside of Lindsey Graham's house? Have you seen that? The FBI is out there. Now, I talked to President Trump about this last night, and he is not ruling it out. We got the warm-up question here. I'm going to just play a little bit of this. I talked to him yesterday, to see if he can come on the show. Came on the show, and we had a nice chat. And it's always great talking to him. It really is. And the accessibility and the candor. And he knows when he can. He'll tell you, I don't want to talk about that. He'll tell you. And sometimes if he doesn't want to talk about that, he will hint what he's thinking, but then he'll move on. So here's just a few moments. My conversation with President Trump, excusez-moi, last night. Cut 2, please. Cut 2. And we are proud to welcome the President of the United States, 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Hey, welcome, you got me? Sir. How are you? Check.
I'm fine. I feel good. The country is doing really well. We're attacking Iran right now as we speak, and they deserve it because they're not going to have a nuclear weapon that we can tell you with great certainty. But we're doing very well. The country is doing phenomenally well, actually.
I would like to talk to you a little bit about Lindsey Graham. We've heard a lot of your comments. You lost a big friend. I saw him in Ukraine on his way back. And we are proud to welcome the President of the United States, 45th and 47th President of the United States, Donald Trump. Welcome, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. I feel good. The country is doing really well. We're attacking Iran right now as we speak, and they deserve it because they're not going to have a nuclear weapon that we can tell you with great certainty. But we're doing very well. The country is doing phenomenally well, actually.
I would like to talk to you a little bit about Lindsey Graham. We've heard a lot of your comments. You lost a big friend. I saw him in Ukraine on his way back, and we all saw the video. He didn't look so hot. I'm told by those who know him, maybe he looked a little off. He was tired. Look, the Russians have a habit of poisoning people they don't like. And Lindsey Graham once called for Putin to be, taken out. You have any suspicions or worries? Do you think we know the whole story about his death?
Well, I think we do. We've had great doctors, and they talked about, a certain part of his body literally blew up. And that's a condition I believe his father had also. His father died very, very young from heart complications, and that's what Lindsey had. And it's something that's, number one, is very tough to see. And even if you see it, it's hard to fix, very hard to fix. And, he had a problem with arteries, and I thought he was like a 70% blockage. I said, Lindsey, you're going to have to go and take care of that. But this was not that problem. This was a different problem that wasn't really related. So he called me, and I said, how you doing? He just got back from Ukraine. He was a worker. I tell you, he was always someplace. And He loved it, though. He really loved it. He was good. He was really a great politician, actually. But he just got back, and I said, "How you doing?" And he said, "Well, I'm doing good, but I'm tired." And within a short period of time after that call, he was gone. Amazing, actually. But he was. I don't think just to answer the conspiracy theory. I don't know. I'd love to say yes, but I think he had some problems and very, very difficult. And his father died just about at the same age from. I'm a believer in the racehorse theory. If you have problems, you have problems. And he had some problems that were a little bit deep-seated and not easy to find.
Well, you made friends. You were once enemies. You made friends. It's kind of inspiring, actually. I like how you do that. Let me ask you about the successor. His sister looks like she's interim. Would you see yourself endorsing for the next round? I know you liked Pamela Evette, the lieutenant governor, when she was running for governor. I don't think she's running for the seat herself, Ms. Nardone. You have any thoughts about what happens after this?
Well, yeah, the sister is going to be interim, and she's a terrific person. Lindsay loved her. They had a great relationship. They got along really well, and I noticed she was with him a lot. And she's a very, very, she's a terrific person. And I thought it was a great idea. The governor called me, told me about it. I thought it was a great idea. And that's only interim, though. That's for a short period of time. That's during, prior to the election. But you have some people there. I think Russell Fry, a young congressman, is outstanding. And that could happen. I could see that happening. I think he's a, very, very talented person. He took the place of somebody that was, he's doing much better than the person that preceded him. He's been very popular in the state. So I think a name like Russell Fry is somebody you can watch out for. And there are probably some others. I believe the sister is there only on an interim basis, however.
You mentioned we're pounding Iran hard right now. You also talked about Guardian of the Gulf or Guardian of the Middle East, a new role for the United States. Two things. Who controls the Strait right now? Is it ours? Is it theirs? Is it neutral? And
we do.
How would this Yeah,
we control it. They can make trouble. They can do things that are not nice, but we control it. We've knocked out most of their radar, a lot of their ammunition, a lot of their weapon launchers. They have the missile launchers. We've knocked out drones. We've knocked out missiles. And we control it, and we're going to keep doing it. And we're putting our blockade, the blockade was a tremendous success. It was there for 2 months, and nobody got through. We're putting that there. We're going to let everyone get through, except if you're doing business with Iran.
The Prime Minister of Israel.
All right, I got to jump out right now. How about that, huh? How about that? Just shooting the breeze with the 45th and 47th President of the United States. We thank him again. Much more locally and nationally and beyond. And beyond. Guardian of the Middle East. Guardian angel of the Middle East. Be right back.
Greg Kelly.
Let's go, Brandon.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly.
On the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Okay, if you want special insight into what's happening in the NYPD, New York City in general, you have to check out The Finest Unfiltered, a hot podcast. Great content by former NYPD cop John McCary, and he's got a lot of his friends on there as well. The Finest Unfiltered. The Finest Unfiltered. It really is a great podcast. John, welcome back. How are you?
Doing well, my friend. How you doing?
Terrific. Hey, how long were you on the job?
I was on the job 18 years. I left as a lieutenant.
From when to when? What year? What year did you join? What year did you leave?
I started in early 2004 on the heels of September 11th, right when I became age eligible, and I left in 2022. Well, I was forced out in 2022, but whatever.
Yeah, no, because of the COVID vaccine and their hideous policies. What was the number one difference for you? And I want to talk about Times Square because the situation there is literally out of control. The biggest difference for you in the NYPD
the biggest change from your early days in 04, 05 to when you got out?
I would say that the de Blasio administration upended everything I knew to be true, everything that I was taught in the police academy, everything that I saw with my own eyes actually worked as a lifelong resident of New York City, watching New York City transform from a city of crime into, I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. I watched it, and New York City was a city of crime at that point. I watched it transform into like Disneyland, where you could take the train at 3 o'clock in the morning and not worry about everything. And then I stepped into a proactive police department where we went after minor crimes, and it led to a huge decrease in larger crimes. And de Blasio basically reversed everything that I was taught, everything that I know works, and I think everything that you speak to any law enforcement professional knows that works.
It's amazing. I like to say, I got a little kind of phraseology. First, de Blasio pretended the NYPD was broken. Then he pretended to fix what wasn't broken, and then he managed to actually break it. And and then Adams comes along, and Adams is supposed to be a cop's cop, but you and I know that that's a lie. But a lot of fake news bought it. How would you characterize the 4 years of Adams?
I thought, he just followed in line with what de Blasio did. He had a little better public relations campaign. He played up that he was actually a cop, but anybody that knows him knows he was the furthest thing from it. He was an empty suit. He didn't believe in policing. He was actually one of the biggest critics of the NYPD his entire career, and he used it as a platform to come on the political stage. And he came in saying he was going to lower the overall headcount of the NYPD. He was going to do all of these radical things, have civilians responding to emotionally disturbed people. Same as.
Hey, forgive me, John. I don't know if you can hear me, but I cannot hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me at all? Oh, man. I hear you just fine, Greg. I have full bars. You got me or no?
Do me a favor.
No?
Justin in the back, I can't hear anything right now, and I can't even see anything with it.
Yeah, I'm good, bro. I hear you. I don't know if
all right. I just heard you. Okay, you can hear me. I can't hear John, although I heard him over your microphone. Let me be quiet. Everyone's going to stop. Take your mic. Take your finger off the IFB. And John, do me a favor. Start talking.
Yep. Yeah, no. So like I was saying, and then Adams basically.
All right, John. This is on us. This is on me. Forgive me.
Okay.
We're gonna have to go to a break because I can't hear a damn thing that anybody may or may not be saying. So let me see if we can get this figured out. I apologize to everybody. Got a new little doodad here hooking us up, and maybe it was hooked up wrong. I'll be right back, everybody. Please don't go too far. The Finest Unfiltered, great podcast. You must check it out. We will be right back, hopefully with full communication.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I think we may have fixed it. This stuff is more complicated than you might think. For me, plug in a microphone and that's it. But there's a hell of a lot of engineering under the hood, and we thank all those guys for squaring it away. We believe John McCary is still with us from the Finest Unfiltered, an awesome podcast, the ins and outs of New York City and the NYPD. John, welcome back. You just told us about how de Blasio and Adams kind of shattered the NYPD. Mamdani, how do you shatter their a million pieces on the ground? What's going on in Times Square right now? I heard you on your podcast, and you gave a very compelling kind of summary as to what's happening in a previously very, very safe part of the city.
Well, again, this is the effect of a decade of non-policing. We went away from policing minor crimes So traditionally, if you walked in Times Square, like let's say when your father was the police commissioner, or even people past as police commissioner, you wouldn't see people drinking, you wouldn't see people loitering, you wouldn't see people harassing tourists. The NYPD would handle all of these issues. You wouldn't have unlicensed vendors everywhere. You wouldn't have all of these issues, large groups gathering, being masked, looking like they're up to no good, and most of the time they're not up to no good. If anyone was carrying weapons around there, they wouldn't feel okay and comfortable to do so. But the style of policing that the NYPD does now is not that. We basically respond to crimes after they happen and then try to solve them and pick up the pieces instead of being proactive and preventing them from happening. So what's happening is now you're seeing a lot of crime, and it's a lot of minor crime that's happening in Times Square, and it's leading to larger crimes such as shootings, stabbings, and robberies. And the once safe Times Square that felt like you were safe, like you were in Disney World, no longer feels like that. And you could even see a diminished police presence there as well. Post 9/11, we've had a very high counterterrorism posture in Times Square specifically. And if I was just in Times Square last week, I didn't see that same posture. I was like, where the hell are all the cops?
And there was a time where just the presence of cops would kind of tell certain people who want to commit crimes, don't come here. Just the presence of cops. And I think the bad guys have figured it out that the cops are limited in their authority. They've been limited by the administration, and they can get away with stuff that they wouldn't even try pulling not too long ago near cops.
Well, I mean, the other thing you have to look at is our criminal justice system significantly changed in the last decade as well, where, traditionally people arrested for minor crimes in the past in New York City did they ever traditionally spend long stints in jail? No, but they would have to see a judge in the morning. They would spend a night or a weekend in jail when they acted up. And we've removed even that. So when people are arrested for minor crimes, they're not even traditionally arrested. They're handed desk appearance tickets. They're walking out the door. They're inconvenienced for a very short amount of time. And they think that not only cops are the joke, but they think our criminal justice system is a joke. And unfortunately, they're correct.
Wow. Hey, do me a favor. I don't know if you spent any time in the detective bureau. Actually, of all the assignments my dad had, he didn't work as a detective, but I think that a high-level political figure like Lindsey Graham, who drops dead in this day and age, the FBI is at his place there, coming from a country where poisoning is kind of like a hobby. They have poisoned presidents. They have poisoned generals. They have poisoned. I think it's a worthy line of inquiry. And anybody who dismisses this as conspiracy talk, fine. It's my experience that most of the conspiracy theories have borne out. So how long does it normally take for a medical examiner, do you happen to know, to determine the cause of death officially? I mean, sometimes the guy was shot in the head. Sometimes you don't know, do you?
I mean, look, we're talking a high-level elected official in our government just traveled to a foreign nation, came back a day after him looking totally healthy at a press conference, and then he passes away. 100% it's worthy of a criminal investigation. And all of those labs should be able to come back immediately. Like, it should get placed to the front of the line, I would think, if we're worried about national security, if we're worried about the interest of our nation. I would think that, you could get that a lot quicker than you would get, like if something happened to me or you, Greg, unfortunately, and even that I don't think would take that long, but I'm just saying he could get moved ahead and you could get that results back, I would say, within 24 hours, probably even much sooner, within hours.
Yeah. You would think. Well, I'm going to keep my eye on this one. Finally, John, when Mamdani comes out, as he has done, and he has the audacity to say that this is the safest the city has ever been, I think that's, I can't tell if he is lying or if people are telling him lies, but that's not true. Now, you might be able to get the paperwork to reflect that, but that's sleight of hand. That's not the reality on the streets. And I find it very offensive, and I also find it kind of socialist, kind of Soviet-esque. They were always reporting good news in the Soviet Union right up until the country collapsed. When you hear Mamdani say that, I mean, your reaction, and am I being too hard on him?
No, I think it's the reaction that everybody should be having. I think you're one of the only journalists that actually are covering this and actually telling the truth about the crime numbers in New York City. I mean, we just watched him on an interview completely downplay the uptick in rape. And he was like, it was due to a change in the law. That change in the law happened in 2024. Adams used it as an excuse in 2024 and 2025. 2 years later, he's still using it as an excuse. And the uptick in rape doesn't even show the actual numbers because, like I always say, and I always talk about this, is that the numbers that the NYPD are touting and the mayor's touting when they're tapping themselves on the back, they're unaudited numbers. After the NYPD does a small random sampling audit of crime complaints, the numbers that are reported rise every single month over month, and this has been happening for over a decade at this point. And so they never go back and they don't tell you, actually, you know what? Crime actually wasn't at historic lows. Crime actually wasn't down in June. They never go back and tell you that, but that is the reality of the picture. So he's being completely disingenuous. And they're selling the public lies, and it's just in all of these mayors' interests, right? I think De Blasio is just as much of a Marxist as Zohran Mamdani is, and even him, he was always riding the coattails of the NYPD. We watched Adams do the same thing, and now you're watching Mamdani do it, and they're all trying to show you that their policies work. We don't need more cops. All of the legislation we put in place is working, and it's a blatant lie.
John Macari, The Finest Unfiltered, great podcast, great content on social media. Find him, follow him. And by the way, while you were talking there and your complete command of the issue, anything can happen in politics. You never know who's going to be the mayor. We had Rudy Giuliani came in after a liberal and Mike Bloomberg, 20 years of Republican mayors. What I'm trying to say is, I could see you as police commissioner someday. Don't rule it out, and I know you'll be ready if that phone call comes. John Macari, we thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Greg. Talk to you soon. Thanks.
All right, to be continued. I'm serious, man. That's a no kidding expert. What the hell is really going on? And you need a guy who knows the nuts and bolts. Jessica Tisch. Jessica Tisch doesn't know 1/10 of 1% of what the man we just heard from knows about the NYPD. Every now and then somebody will say, that man has forgotten more than somebody will ever know about something. And at first, I got to think about that. Wait, that doesn't sound right, but it actually is a huge compliment. John Macari has forgotten more than Jessica Tisch will ever know about the NYPD. And I think that's spot on here. All right, real quick, couple of things before we go. Darlene Nordone, that's the new senator from South Carolina, replacing her big brother. Can you imagine that? You're growing up together and back to back, you're going to be United States senators. Just if you could tell the future, he's 19 years old. He's got a 10-year-old sister. You two crazy kids are going to represent. After Strom Thurmond, who's been in office since 1930, you, Lindsey Graham, South Carolina undergrad, just hanging around, thinking about joining the Air Force, and your little sister are going to be the next people in the United States Senate representing South Carolina. I love things like that, even though it is tragic and it is suspicious. And I do mean suspicious. I'm getting some comments here. How dare you talk about this? Conspiracy theories. You know what? Did you hear President Trump? He's got an open mind. He's got an open mind on this. If you don't mind, cut one. The new senator from South Carolina, Lindsey Graham's little sister. Cut one.
I know Lindsey thought the world of his staff and colleagues, and with their support, I feel confident. I think this is what Lindsey would have wanted, and I plan to honor him.
Yeah. Very beautiful. It is what Lindsey would have wanted. So she's just going to be there until December 31st or January 3rd or something like that. And then they're going to have the next person. There's going to be a primary and an election in pretty short order. I am pulling, and I said it last night, President Trump said Congressman Fry. I'm not familiar with him. I am familiar with Pamela Yvette, Evette, Evette. She is currently the lieutenant governor. She was endorsed by President Trump for governor, and she lost that primary. She lost it in a runoff. So I think that it could be her, and Governor McMaster likes her a lot. Look, it's going to be a Republican, all right? And I say that in full support because we can't have any crazy people who support the transgender and who support no borders and who want to abolish ICE. Now, I'm still taking in the information about the ICE shooting in Maine. I don't have all the facts. However, at this point, look, a couple of things. When you run from law enforcement, and whenever law enforcement is required, the danger factor, there's a danger factor. But we have factored in that there's less danger to having cops than not having cops, right? It's better to have cops. Yes, accidental discharges happen. Yes, sometimes the wrong person is going to be shot. Sometimes a cop is going to shoot another cop. There are all kinds of conceivably bad things that happen in any scenario. You have a police department, there's going to be corruption. You have a school system, there's going to be sooner or later a teacher hooking up with a student, right? That doesn't mean we disband the school. That doesn't mean we disband the NYPD or the Immigration Customs Enforcement. Now, the real responsibility for what happened there, so they were going after an illegal alien, and apparently another guy ran away in his car. And that was not the guy ICE was looking for, but they opened fire. Now, I don't know about whether or not it was a justified shooting at this point. I do know you're not supposed to run away from cops. I do know that, generally speaking, people who are in the process of breaking the law. I also know that a lot of people have been influenced by the fake news to blow off ICE, right? F ICE. F ICE. When did the hell did that become fashionable, right? That's on the liberals. That's on the left. That's on Joe Biden. That's on AOC. I'll figure out more here, but we need ICE. And finally, we have a safe border, right? But because we didn't, we have a lot of illegals running around, and ICE is charged with getting them and enforcing the laws. I will be right back.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode, so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?